Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another garden tour. I have just bought some new plants and I'm very excited about it, and I'm also excited to kind of show you guys where the garden is at as summer is starting to wind down here. So these are my new babies. These are hardy kiwi vines. One of them is a fruiting vine and the other one is a pollinator for it. And if you've been following me, you know that I have been trying to grow hardy kiwi all summer. I found some starts at Lowe's and they just did not come up. I might not have watered them enough. They might have just been really weak. They were like bare root starts essentially, no foliage on them. And I bought them on a whim, but I realized after they didn't come up that I actually really wanted them. So I went ahead and ordered from Stark Bros. And I've had really good luck with them in the past. That's where all my berries have come from. So, ooh, there's already a little friend on here. Look at that. Green stink bug. Anyways, so these are going to get planted out in the next couple of days. They've been on the porch kind of acclimating to the weather. And I think I have enough frost-free days for them to get established, especially with the size plant that they already are and the foliage that they have. I think that they will do all right. And for those of you who are just like, oh, you can grow kiwi in South Carolina? Yes and no. That's not like a kiwi like you would buy in the store. It's a kiwi berry, which is smaller, like imagine a big grape, but it kind of looks like a kiwi and you eat the whole thing, skin and all. That is a kiwi berry. And it is cold hardy. It should be perennial here. And I'm pretty excited about it. So right next to me are my brassica seedlings. I've got lots of broccolis and cauliflowers, rutabagas, cabbages, kales, and Brussels sprouts in here, also a little bit of kohlrabi. And they've been outside for a while now. I think they're properly hardened off. I can start putting them out. These ones are starting to get big enough. These ones I might give like another week or so. They're a little smaller. They actually got rained on. You can see right here these cells that are all dug out. I leave them on the porch steps because it's nice to kind of graduate them down the steps as they go, because then they'll get more and more sun because of the way the house shades them from some of the sun. And farther down the steps you can see no house over here. So they get less and less shade the farther they go down the stairs. However, when I leave them on some of the top stairs here, the roof right there, the rain comes off of it because there's no gutter here, and very harshly can come onto my trays. And so that is what happened there, because it suddenly rained. I did not trust that it would rain because it hasn't rained here very frequently. Every time it says it's going to rain, it doesn't. We are in the middle of a drought, like as a state, but I think my specific area is like a little worse off because we had a lot of rain come through from Tropical Storm Debbie, and then a couple other storms that just very much looked like they were going to hit me and then just skirted the edge of where I am. So these guys, I did not expect to get rain, but they did. Oh, look at that. I just noticed there's a little pepper seedling in here with it. Oh, that's funny. I wonder where that seed came from. I did not plant that in there. Anyways, so these are going to get planted out very soon. These have just a little bit more time. And if you look down in the garden there, you can see my little troublemaker Kata getting into whatever she's getting into. Kata! Yeah. What are you doing? So I came out a little earlier and had my coffee at my little table because the temperature is actually very nice today. It still hasn't reached 80 and it's coming up on noon. It's a little overcast. It's kind of perfect. I noticed this butterfly, which is actually right here at the front. It's kind of a yellow and black one, fluttering its little wings. Very pretty. And I saw hummingbirds this morning. Oh, it's just been glorious in the garden lately. Alright, so we're going to start off by looking at this trellis here. This is my scarlet runner beans, and although they haven't... Ooh, look at this little buddy right here. Green anole. Hello. So I actually have been really wanting to do a creatures and insects video for you guys. I am working on that. I mentioned that like weeks ago, and I just keep finding new insects to talk about and film, and it's becoming a much bigger thing than I ever expected. So hello, you are cute. So I'll be trying to get that out to you guys as soon as I can. But anyways, I was going to say that this trellis, even though it hasn't really made beans for me, has attracted a lot of hummingbirds. It is the favorite of the hummingbirds. So even if it never produces beans for me, I might keep it just for that very reason. Someone keeps flying their personal plane, it sounds like, over my house over and over again. Oops, running into a spider web. Okay, so sorry if you hear that in the background. I've been trying to avoid it, but it just keeps going back and forth. Right here we're looking at my blue cocoa green beans. They are not green, they are purple, but they are meant to be eaten as a fresh bean, which is what the green means. We've got a lot of them here. They're looking better than they have. Definitely some damage, of course, but the beans themselves, I'm getting healthier looking beans. I was getting just like little shriveled things for a while, and definitely a little bit of that rain that we got has helped, although to be honest, we've gotten like 3/10 of an inch over the past like 2 weeks, so not great. Been having to water some, trying to water as little as possible though, because I can't afford all that. Basil looking great. I actually need to pull from this for pesto again soon. You can see it's starting to make little flowers, so I'm gonna pull from that again. I've got plenty coming through here, so that'll be a big batch of pesto for the freezer. And the tomatoes definitely are slowing down. This is the season where I start considering if I'm gonna pull them out. They're still making a tomato here and there, but definitely overall struggling as far as tomatoes go. This flower right here is very compound. I don't know, it's fused. There's a bunch of flowers all in one here. I'm gonna pull that off because this little plant does not need any more super heavy fruits on it. So as we go down here, we can see my Borghese. They've been making lots of tomatoes. It was supposed to be a determinate variety, but it's acting like an indeterminate variety. It put on a lot of fruit all at once, but it's still been putting on more fruit over the season like an indeterminate would. So I'm not sure that I trust that it's actually a determinate. I've still got a couple of fruits coming in there. That one's a Heinz. Overall, the fruits that I'm getting are less healthy because of the leaf-footed bugs that you've seen. They tend to come along and suck the sap out of stuff. Like this bite is probably caterpillar, but the little mottledness of it, the way it's not very I don't know what the word is escaping me, but just the way it's different colors. Those little spots that are lighter are where they have stuck their little beaks in and sucked some of the sap out of this tomato. So it's like still edible, but sometimes if you leave it too long, you do get rotten spots, and it just generally makes the tomatoes less appetizing, I would say. This is what I was talking about with the beans, how I was getting just a bunch of small shriveled looking things. I've been pulling them off to encourage the plants to make more fresh beans, because this isn't going to be good as a fresh bean, and it's not far enough along to actually make a seed to be a dried bean either. This side of the tomato trellis is probably the prettiest, what with all of the zinnias coming up. I definitely planted a lot of these, but I think some of them were volunteers as well, especially the ones that are like all up in the tomato trellis over here. So as we look at this row, last week I planted some peas and Kate is chasing something. I planted some peas in this area, like dwarf peas that should kind of help with the ground cover over the winter and also provide me with a little bit of food as we go into the fall. I watered some. It's been really difficult to water enough for seeds to sprout. We'll see. if they actually come up. It's just so dry, and the soil is so dry at this point that the amount of water it would take to actually soak it and help it to not be so hydrophobic anymore, it's very high. It's not an achievable amount of water for me, but I'm doing my best. And the peppers in this area, luckily their roots are deep enough that they are still doing okay, and peppers actually don't mind a bit of drought. So we're getting some sweet peppers coming on here. You can see some of them up in here. There's a red one right there. There's another red one coming on right there. And as we go farther down, we start to see the hot peppers. More of that gorgeous butterfly. Hello, friend. So down in here, hot peppers. The most prolific at the moment is the Buena Mulata. These ones are all starting to ripen. You can see they go from purple to orange, and if you leave them, they will eventually turn like a nice reddish color. And you can see back there, my Tabascos are starting to ripen up. These plants look like little flowers in the garden, kind of like candy. And I think the Trepadera Warner peppers, that's these ones sticking up, those are about to all start ripening. You can see down at the bottom the older ones. There's some more over here, some of the older ones starting to come on. This plant right here has started putting on peppers. They're much bigger. It is either my banana pino or it is my Anaheim pepper. Right now I can't tell for sure. Once I pick them and eat them, I will be very certain, because Anaheim is so much less spicy than banana pino. So we'll see that soon. And a couple of these plants haven't actually put on recognizable fruits yet. Hopefully we will see. Definitely there was a little bit of damage in here. I think something came in and chewed on them. My deer fence that I've had up with the hay strings and the pie pans, I did a really bad job maintaining it this year. I let the cords get all twisted up, and some of the pie pans fell off, and because it had been so long since I'd seen deer damage in my garden, I got really complacent, and I was like, oh, it doesn't matter, there's technically still some strings up, it should be fine, they've been taught not to come to the garden, whatever. I was wrong. I've seen a little bit of deer damage here and there in the garden. It's not too bad, but definitely kind of kicked my rear in gear, and I fixed up the fence, and gonna get some new pie pans to put on it, and just be more vigilant. Moving on to look at the corn. I had thought that the corn was doing well, and it was just kind of small because of the drought, but I think it's actually much worse off than I thought. I picked a couple of ears. One of them was entirely fungus, that corn fungus. I can't pronounce the Spanish word for it correctly, but people call it corn smut. It is supposedly a delicacy. I've eaten it before. I think it's fine. But I've seen a lot of it on this corn, and also the ears are really tiny. And the one that I did find and unwrap that was not full of fungus had like 5 kernels on it. It did not get pollinated very well. So this entire section of corn, I'm not really expecting much, if any, of a harvest from at this point. It was just a bad year for the corn, and potentially a variety that is not super happy here. I had been pretty sure that I had gotten a Cherokee variety of corn, but the color of the corn that I did see, all 5 kernels of it, was very yellow, and that was not what I was expecting. So I'm wondering if this is even the type of corn that I thought I planted. I have already bought some more seeds though for next year of what I think is going to be the right type of corn. So hopefully next year will be a little better with the corn. Now this area here near the corn is more sweet peppers. Mostly it is the store-bought ones, and they're doing okay. I'm seeing, like, here's a pretty big pepper here. There's a banana pepper down here. And that's a sweet banana pepper, by the way. All of these are sweet peppers. They're doing okay. I wish they were doing better, but they're doing okay. And my cucumber over here, the vines are starting to really vine out. There's a couple of munches on this side from the deer, nothing too bad. And I have, I've harvested like 3 cucumbers already. This would be the 4th. This one actually looks the healthiest out of all of them. They've had like shriveled tails, and I think me trying to water better has really improved the look of the fruit here. So cucumbers doing much better. Ooh, here's another one right here. This is an Ashley cucumber. This one over here is Suo Long, and this one is definitely a little misshapen. This side has had fewer fruits, and also look at all these leaves gone. That could be deer munching. You can see the way this is munched here. But sometimes these lower leaves just fall off when they start looking sick like this. So sometimes it's hard to tell, but the way this stem is munched makes me think deer. The noodle bean trellis is looking jungly. I've definitely been leaving the beans on there, waiting for them to dry. You can see kind of how crisp this one is. And the benefit of the drought, as I think I mentioned last week, is that I can just leave these outside to dry on the vine. In years past, the humidity and the rain has been bad enough that sometimes they mold before they fully dry. And the dry heat has been pretty good for them in that respect. So, you know, we'll take the positives where we can get them. These dried beans will be really great for chili later on in the year. And the noodle bean plant is still making new beans. I can come out and find 1 or 2 usually that are about right to be picked if I need something fresh for a meal. You can see a couple baby beans down here. It's definitely still producing, even though I am allowing it to pull some beans to maturity, which I think is really nice. A lot of times plants, once they start getting seeds to maturity, just stop producing entirely. As I was walking over to the other section of the garden, I noticed that my eggplant here at the front is actually starting to put on little fruits. This is my fairy eggplant. They are the cutest little eggplants. I absolutely love them. And then that reminded me that I do have a fruit coming on this eggplant as well, which is pure white. And I'm not entirely sure that I planted a pure white variety. I will have to double check because this is surprising to me. But it really is giving egg, you know? Okay, now I'm realizing I did completely skip over the eggplant as we did this row. Because this one also has a fruit on it. I've pulled a couple of fruits off this plant already. It is finally eggplant season. It is a little late because these plants were on the struggle bus for a while. But look at them now. They're looking great. Look at these leaves. So healthy. And look, there's another fruit here, and it's making another flower here, and there's a little teeny baby flower there. I am happy. Ooh, another baby there. This is great. I had interplanted them with my peppers along this row, and part of what has been slowing them down is the fact that they are planted in so close, and they were slower than everything else, especially near the hot peppers, where these were not stunted and these were, because those weren't in the bad soil. And the idea was that these would grow up pretty fast, the way they usually do, and really compete well for canopy space, but they struggled. And you can see we're finally getting eggplant leaves near the top of the canopy here. The zinnias also just like absolutely blew up and started shading like a bunch more than I would have expected. Like this whole area right here, the top of the canopy is zinnia. So that's something for me to note next year. Maybe I'll do the same thing again and just not have bad poison soil. There's the handsome boy. Hello. Say hi to your fans. Okay, so we are moving on to the other section of the garden now. I have my grapes here still at the corners of the pergola, and the hardy kiwis are also going to go on the pergola. I definitely want to get them in as soon as possible so that them and the grapes are kind of equally competing for space as they go up. And definitely the grapes are doing better than I expected with the drought. This one that I thought was dead for a while is making some really nice new leaves. This one also making some really nice new leaves. These are a non-native variety of grape, and I was really worried about how they would handle the weather here. But they seem to be taking it in stride and haven't really seemed to need supplemental watering. And speaking of poisoned soil, this planter that I got from Vigo to review, I haven't been able to because I also ended up filling it with that soil that was poisoned, and my little cucumbers came up, got about this big, and then turned yellow and completely died. So we have finally refilled it. We're trying again. Cucumber seeds have been planted. They should be sprouting any day now. And this is just a mat of weeds that I yanked up and put over the top of the soil to kind of help keep them moist, because I would have to be out here like twice a day watering it to keep the seeds moist enough to germinate without a little bit of cover from the sun. Over here in this raised bed, I have had the thought, okay, this is a very dead parsley. Maybe I should go ahead and cut it out. But over the winter, these hollow stems will be really good spots for beneficial insects to overwinter. So I think I might just leave it and then cut it back in the spring. You know, there's a lot of dead twigs in here, to be honest. Lots of dead oregano. You can see the sage still working on poking up through everything. The feverfew that's right here, still holding on. My thyme, lots of dead, but still holding on. I will wait until spring probably to trim this back as well. Sweet potatoes have been continuing to regrow their foliage post deer damage. I've been seeing, it's hard to tell if the deer keep coming back or not, but it's about time for me to start digging in here and figuring out if we actually have any sweet potatoes. I figure maybe you guys can sit with me and help. Let's see. So this right here looks like something. I see some really big roots. Oh my goodness. Okay. That is definitely, whoop, I'm about to lose grip of y'all. Okay, that is definitely a sweet potato. If I yank up on it, what do we got? Oh, look at that. Okay, that's pretty. That's good. I'm gonna go eat that for lunch. Let's see. A little bit of damage. Nothing too terrible. Nice. I bet I could start digging these whenever I want. I am enjoying having the greens. I cut them and use them kind of like spinach. I like to use them to just kind of green up anything that I'm cooking. Usually that is stir fry. And I hope the ube is also doing well over there. I just set down my potato on the bench because I did not bring a basket, but I saw the mints and realized I haven't shown them to you in a while. They're also kind of struggling with the drought, but on top of that, all these pots got topped up with that same soil. I am so upset that I got such a big batch of it, and I had hoped that the mint wouldn't be as susceptible to whatever's in it, but I mean, this chocolate mint here, it's alive, but only just, you know? It's like the fates have like frayed its little cord of life. I'm hoping that next year I can repot it into something a little bit nicer for it. This chocolate mint is my favorite mint, and I thought it was dead last year, but it came back from the dead, and I have only just barely kept it alive. My spearmints, they're also kind of barely alive, but if we come over here, we've got an entirely dead catnip. and my peppermint, which is doing great. Peppermint did not get topped off with that soil, and you can tell. It looks so much happier than those other plants. All right, let's move on to this last section over here, the berry patch. I don't remember if I told you guys, but I did finally dig all of those potatoes, so those are inside now. And the berries are definitely not really producing anymore. I'm getting a couple here and there. Garlic chives are flowering. You can see they look a lot like onion flowers, but they're just tiny. Very cute. I really like that this is done so well for me, even in the midst of the drought. It's the perfect little green garnish for everything. And strawberries, sad, but still alive. I will never stop hoping that the rain returns. And let's see if we can find any blackberries. There's a couple green ones here. I don't know. Oh, wait. Here's one. Oh, there's another. So, yeah, a couple blackberries. Not just a ton. Couple raspberries. This one actually looks great. Found a small bunch of raspberries under here. Kind of unexpected, but it's nice to see that the plant is still trying. Did you come over here to guard my sweet potato baby? You're doing such a good job. So I am going to grab my tripod, and for this week's rotating segment, I'm going to go over how the worms are doing with you guys. The ones that are outside in the garden, and also the ones that are inside. And we're also going to, in the same vein of things, touch on how all the different composts are doing. Okay, so let's start with this one that is in the very sad raised bed. Let's see what we've got in here. I haven't checked on these in quite a while. Let's see. So this is some dead grass I put as kind of a top covering. We've got some of the cardboard. And then down here it's still really nice and wet, which is nice. Oh, that looks like a avocado pit or something. What else do we got down in here? Oh, that feels so cool and moist. That's such a good sign for the worms. Now if only we could find some worms. Here we go. Hello. Look at you. Oh, you are beautiful. Look at all that. That looks great. There's another one of these pits. I don't know what I ate and then put these pits in there. They seem to like them though. So maybe I'll give them the other one back. But nice. That is such a good sign. And some of these are small, so I'm assuming that they're like juveniles, babies. Which means that they're happy enough to reproduce, which is great news in here. Conditions seem good. What are you? Oh, that looks like a really broken down onion. I also see a grub in here. Yeah, that is great. Lots of decomposition happening in here. We're going to put this back. And then we are going to cover again with my little makeshift covering here and seal this back up. I am happy with how that's going. I might go ahead and feed them again soon with some vegetable scraps. Okay, I'm kind of using you guys via the tripod to hold back some of this raspberry bush. This one, oh, grasshopper, I am hoping looks even better because this lid is really on here. Okay, got it. I'm hoping that this one looks even better because the soil around here is nicer, and it's been like shaded by these plants. Let's see what's in here. Oh, lots of things I don't recognize. I don't know if I want to stick my bare hand right into that. So, oh, there's a slug in there too. 2 slugs, 3 slugs, 4 slugs. Lots of slugs in here. Let's see. 5, lots of slugs. Man, slugs love this bucket. I'm gonna go get my little trowel and be right back. Okay, we are back. We have a tool. Oh, this feels very wet. That feels too wet, actually. That might explain why we're seeing slugs in here and not worms. This looks very muddy though. Like, just everything I put in here looks very composted. I don't see remnants of really much of anything. Wow, that's so wet. Interesting. Very interesting. You can see all those slugs on the edges here. Alright, so I'm thinking this could use some more cardboard to kind of dry it out, and could use some more worm food because it is very much out of food. I'm actually gonna go do that now. So via YouTube magic, let's feed them. So these are some frozen food scraps. I had kind of intended them for my inside worms, but these guys seem to need it more. I would like to feed more than that, but currently I don't have a stash of food scraps that is not intermixed with things that worms cannot have. So that'll have to be good enough for now, and then we will feed them quite a bit of these cardboard shreds, which will help kind of soak up some of that excess liquid, and they can also eat them. They especially like the glue that holds the cardboard together. So we're just gonna kind of pile this in here and hope that this attracts my worms back to the bucket. Especially because I can't imagine they've got just a whole lot of other stuff to be eating right now. And we'll have to take a closer look at what this bucket was actually full of. Unfortunately, my YouTube magic was ruined by the hot sun causing my phone to overheat and not record the whole thing. Unfortunate. But we are inside now to take a look at the inside worms, and hopefully by the time we're done with that, my phone will be cool enough for me to take you guys to go look at all the compost stuff that is outside. All right, so we've got cardboard topper on here. Set that on the lid. Okay. This feels like it's about the right level of moistness. Maybe could be a tiny bit more moist. We've got worms already kind of jumping around, and my cat digging through my cardboard. Hold up. Kata, get your head out of there. This is not for you. This is not for you at all. Okay, sorry. So let's kind of turn over what we got here. This looks like a mostly eaten something or other. What else do we got in here? Oh, that is a lot of worms. Look at that. Wow, that's so healthy. I hope you guys can see all of those worms. They look so good. Oh, hello. These guys are trying to escape. That's perfect. That is such a good sign. I think I can safely say that my worm bin is very happy. They've got plenty of cardboard to eat, and I do think I will do my best to gather some more scraps to feed them pretty soon, because I think they are entirely out of scraps at the moment. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Well, there's a little bit of a scrap. Here's some more worms in here. These guys looking good. We are back in the great outdoors to take a look at the bokashi setup. I have more buckets these days. This bucket, actually, I did not mean to be using it. It is with a lid that doesn't match and the lid is cracked. This is like a really bad, this is gonna be like maybe the worst example of bokashi right in here. It is not bokashiing very well because the lid doesn't seal very well. And it needs to probably just get shoved into the compost pile as soon as possible. But these other buckets were totally full up, and I just could not get around to emptying them. So they are all empty now, and I can start bokashiing in them again properly. This bucket is especially nice because it has a really nice heavy-duty lid that seals really well. I find that these Lowe's buckets, especially the newer lids, they just crack so quickly. Not exactly the best. I really want to get more buckets from the bakery. The white buckets that I have out in the garden, those are free buckets that I got from the bakery at my grocery store. They were like giant frosting buckets, and they seem great. They're food grade, obviously, because food came in them, and the lids fit really tight and nice, so I'll probably try and get some more of those. And here we have the main compost pile where all of my bokashi goes before it goes in the garden, and I've been collecting, what is it called, chicken manure in this pile as well. And this is also where some of my bigger like plant scraps go that would not fit in a bokashi bucket. So I'm gonna set you guys down and we're gonna dig through it. So it has been just a few days since I put some bokashi in here, and I tried to cover it up with some of this dried material here. There are already a lot of grubs in here. Let's see. Oh, that looks like that is bokashi right there. It is already starting to break down. It's only been just a couple of days, and like the outer edge of everything looks like compost, which is great news. This is part of why we do bokashi. Aside from being able to compost things you wouldn't normally compost, it also breaks down super fast. Yeah, that looks like a little bit more of a big lump. But yeah, that's starting to break down pretty good. I see a lot of decompositional life in there, so I'm just gonna kind of open it up and help stuff get access to it a little bit better. And then I'm going to pull some of this dried stuff back up on the top. Keep it from attracting too many critters. And also, I think keeping it covered helps it to break down just a little bit faster than if it were just like kind of sitting out open to the air. This pile, unfortunately, is not nearly enough for what the entire garden is going to need this year. I'm going to try and keep collecting chicken manure from my neighbors, but I mean, there's only so much of that they have. I think I will end up needing to buy some compost this year, but I mean, over time, I'm hoping that I'll have more and more stuff to compost, and eventually I will stop having to rely on stuff that comes from the store. So I can tell that this video is going to be kind of long already, so I will give you guys a quick goodbye, and I will see you next week. Until then, happy gardening.